with the brain, if you've done damage, you don't even know. So you're taking precautions. Yours came from an X-ray. So we know now, what can we do from for elemental wise that can protect from that? Well, we know now that scalarization of water in the form of what's called rad neutral protects the brain from radiation. That's really good.
Wait, what's that called?
The scalarization of water, that's the process method that's used. You can call it, it's called rad neutral, R-A-D. Capital.
Rad neutral water.
Rad neutral. What they've done is they've actually taken this and they've taken test subjects and they put them on this rad neutral. After one complete cycle of 30 days, the body's microbiome assimilates this element into itself and memorizes it forever. So when your cells go through mitosis and apoptosis, they clone themselves essentially. What will happen is that memory is now imprinted onto the next cell. So you never have to take the supplement again. You take it once and you're done for the rest of your life. And you're completely immune to radiation damage.
What? This sounds so amazing. Wow.
It is, and they don't know why. They haven't exactly figured it out, but I read through the technical papers, and that is actually what's occurring.
Okay, I definitely need this stuff. So for you guys who don't know the backstory with my brain damage, I went to an X-ray. I went to a chiropractor, and the chiropractor was giving me an X-ray, I guess, for my spine. I had scoliosis, and I literally felt the X-ray. Like, I felt it. As soon as they pressed the button, boom. He stood behind a thing, right? Because they have to stand behind this thing, so they don't get the radiation poisoning. But I felt the X-ray on my face, and I'm like, what the heck? You're not supposed to feel an X-ray. Immediately, I was, worried that maybe the X-ray machine had been broken or something, and it released too much radiation. I don't know, but I researched it afterwards, and you're not supposed to feel an X-ray, but I guess a few people had reported that they had felt it. So maybe I'm like this extrasensory person that feels radiation. I don't know why, but I did feel since that day. It might be partly psychosomatic, but I have felt that I had some brain damage from that. Anyways, that's just the little backstory there. Okay.
Yeah, I remember you told me a long time ago.
Yeah, and, I was really worried, right? When I was talking to you about it, I'm like, I feel like I have this brain damage, Matt. What can I do?
Yeah, unfortunately, our strategies back then for radiation were very, very minimal. We know that miso, for example, well, whatever they used in Hiroshima.
Oh, you're talking about natto. The natto, yeah. That's what the Japanese who were in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they took natto to mitigate the radiation poisoning. And they would take seaweed and things, right? They would.
Yeah.
All kinds of
they were highly seaweed. So that was our only strategy. That was the only thing for me to actually tell you what to do, because that was the only thing that I knew for a fact would help you. Because even if you have irradiated your cells and that won't go away, you can protect from that damage, because radioactive isotopes are in a lot of things. I mean, bananas are really highly radioactive themselves. Radioactive isotopes are in a lot of things. But now that our ocean is more polluted than ever, and since you eat fish, you have to be more protected than the average person.
Right. Darn it. So, the fish, it could have radiation that I eat. I do eat sardines. I was hoping, and this might be totally wishful thinking, that because they're such a small fish that the radiation in the fish won't be that high, but it is a risk. Maybe that's not good.
And because that Fukushima is still dumping toxins into the ocean. That's never stopped. So the ocean is water. It's basically a gigantic solvent. So it's absorbing more radiation continuously. If you can see the radioactive, when they take Gauss meters and they test fish, it goes off. They actually have so much radiation you can test it in them. So that's pretty scary. They can actually visually see on meters how much radiation are in clams and oysters and these things. So the ocean being dumped in with more radioactive isotopes, even if you're standing on the beach and you're breathing in these ions or these negative ions coming in from the water, you're getting these radioactive isotopes even in through the air that you normally wouldn't be getting. So we have to be a little bit more preventative on our measures.
I'm basically I'm turning into an X-Men. I mean, all this radiation, it's going to maybe it could be bad, or maybe it could have a hormetic effect, right? If it's radiation in small dosage, might even help the body, right? Because the body's trying to rebuild itself and repair the damage, like an X-Men, and then you repair back stronger. Or am I just totally wishful thinking here? Is it possible that radiation can benefit me?
That's where the theory of what's that called? It's homeopathy comes from. Homeopathy is a little bit of something to acclimate you to getting the full dose. But homeopathy is diluted down so much. Like literally an entire vial of something isn't even a single drop of whatever element you're actually trying to take. That's why it actually does nothing. So what essentially is, I know a person that believes in that system that you just mentioned. He lives up in the high desert. He's about 99 years old, and he used to be a writer for New York Times. And he believes that radiation is something that's around us all the time, so that our bodies should also be consuming radiation. So what he actually does is he goes out and he goes into the field where the rocks that contain the highest amounts of radiation are, and he takes these rocks and he puts them in water. Now he takes that water after he cleans it off. The radiation that's in the rock will never go anywhere. That's what radiation does. It stays in the ground. That's why places where they tested nuclear are bombarded off, so you can't go there and be radiated. So he takes one of those rocks and he puts it in water. And every day he puts a pear in so that the radioactive isotopes bind to the fiber in the pear, and he eats it. And he believes that it'll allow him to live for a very, very, very long time. And I met him over 10 years ago, and he's still kicking. So that's pretty cool.
I wonder if there's a difference between, like, is there a difference between like man-made radiation, it's probably not man-made radiation, it's probably like something you would find in a nuclear power plant and here or a nuclear bomb, versus like the natural radiation that would be in a granite rock or like a marble cutting board. I have this big marble cutting board. It's probably emitting radiation, because even I've heard marble cutting boards can literally just emit radiation. Is there a difference between, is there like a natural type of radiation versus a bad type of radiation? And we have to talk about the whole, before I forget, make sure I don't forget, we have to talk about the 5G towers. I wanted to ask your opinion on, because this 5G tower thing, I heard it's going to be like horrible. Like they're going to put these things everywhere, and this type of radiation coming from the 5G is really dangerous. So what do you think about that? But
okay. Yeah. Okay. So, there's different types. Matter of fact, you would need a lot of granite. You would need a lot. I don't think your chopping board size will do enough. Okay. I don't think that's enough. You would need, because the element that's in granite is a mix. They don't know exactly how granite is made. They think maybe high pressure, high heat, but it's a mix of many different rocks. That's what makes it so hard. It's like sand being compacted into a tight rock. That's why granite's so heavy and so tight. So it's got some of those elements in it that have radioactive isotopes in them that give off radiation. So yeah, there are other elements that have it, and those elements are in the soil, and the plant takes those up into themselves. That's why things have them, like a banana, for example. Matter of fact, if you were to take a banana and go through the airport, it would set off the sensor.
Oh, wow.
Bananas are very high, but your body can get rid of this two different ways. It doesn't really worry too much about ingested radiation if you were to have sodium alginate, or if you were to have high amounts of pectin. Pectin and those things are absorbents. They're like sponges for those radioactive elements. That's why when you're flying and you're really high in the upper atmosphere, where there's lots of radiation, much more than down here at the lower altitudes, you would want to consume lots of seaweeds and apples and sunflower seeds and things that are very high in pectin, because when radioactive pectin 129 comes in contact with the body, if the cell's empty and doesn't have any pectin or doesn't have sodium alginate in it, it's going to be susceptible to that radiation bombardment, and that's what's going to damage you. So if you were to be going through the airports and you're going to be flying really high altitudes and things like that, yeah, you definitely want some protection, so you can take those elements for that protection. That would be my best strategy for it.
I've heard also that I think I've heard this, that ginseng helps protect against radiation. Have you heard that? Ginseng?
I can't say that I have heard that. No.
Do you take ginseng at all?
I do, but I like the warming effect, so I take Panax ginseng. I'm really thin naturally, and I very seldomly eat. So when I do eat, I eat cold foods as well, because I'm fruitarian mostly. So not only do I seldomly eat, when I do eat, I eat like minute amounts of food. So I'm kind of cold. I like ginseng because it warms me up, especially in winter. Warming ginseng is just an amazing feeling. I'll even add it to smoothies that are cold, and I'll still feel a little bit of that warming effect. It's like, you ever take like cold chai tea, because it's got the ginger in it and things that you can feel that warming effect.
Never heard of chai tea? Oh, chai?
Chai, C-H-A-I.
Oh, chai. Yeah. I love chai tea. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, I can feel that warming coming, even if it's got ice on it, right? So, and the 5G towers, I haven't read or studied up on how damaging those are going to be, but I can just imagine anything that outputs high amounts of energy for mass amounts of people. You want to create some kind of a distance for that. Now, don't be too worried, because when I've taken a Gauss meter myself and I've actually tested different things like cars, you don't want to be in a Tesla, for example. You don't want to be in a Prius. When those things accelerate, that meter goes off higher than when you're standing under power lines. So it's very damaging every time they accelerate. Now, if they're coasting, you don't see the gauge much at all, because there's not much reliance upon the battery power to do that. But I would imagine if you drive continuously, and especially for people that are in cars that drive themselves, it's so convenient. You're just relying on an electric car to drive you everywhere. I'd imagine a cumulative damage would do something like that. Again, that's why rad neutral would be so beneficial nowadays. It's such an amazing new discovery. But if you live next to one of these 5G towers, that's a problem. But if you literally walk across the street from one of those towers, you can notice a dissipation of that energy of a frequency has gotten it almost into a safe level already. And that's just walking across the street. So you want to be a good like a block away, you're fine. But so we're in an era right now where these things have never existed at any time. And deleterious mutation rates in human beings have gotten to the point where they're so high that there's 24,000 new annual diseases updated into the disease publications every year. That is an unstoppable amount of new diseases being added. And people don't know what's going on. And we have to assume the human genome is degrading and breaking down, and we're doing things that we've never done in history as well. And these compounded elements and things that we've never ate, never done, and never lived around are damaging, because the body's never been around it. It doesn't know what to do with it. How can it? It's never encountered it. It's like saying, well, I'm going to live on a world with 3 moons and 2 suns. Your body would be so screwed. It wouldn't know. It wouldn't have a circadian rhythm. It wouldn't know what's going on. It wouldn't know when you're supposed to sleep, anything. It would just be a disaster all around. So
and think about what life on Mars, what that's going to do to people. Like, that's going to
it has no atmosphere. So you literally have to live like underground, and then you're going to have like no light. So then there goes your circadian rhythm again. Then you're going to be around fake light and electricity continuously, because you have to rely on it for everything. God forbid a coronal mass ejection hits, then you're totally dead because you're relying upon electricity. There goes your oxygen. I mean, I don't know if they've thought about a lot. They want to talk about melting the polar ice caps.
I heard they want to like detonate a nuclear bomb on Mars, because somehow that would like help create an atmosphere. Have you heard that?
Yeah, because it's going to blow out a lot of that frozen ice, and then once the atmosphere will be formed by the magnetism of that planet. So the magnetism will now grab the atmosphere and hold it in place, kind of like ours does, and it won't allow it to go any further out. It'll build its own atmosphere by evaporating water, because water exists in only 3 forms, and it's only in 1 form. Ice. So they want to turn it to those other forms so that it can rebuild an atmosphere. That's a lot of wishful thinking as well, because as we know, they don't know the elements of ice that are actually on it. They've projected, they've guessed, but it's inside the planet, so they don't really know.
Right. And you mentioned electric cars, and I just want to make sure the audience picked up on that electric cars are definitely a source of like EMF radiation, right? And that could be causing people all kinds of problems.
Yeah, I would like people to really, if they're going to be driving around in electric cars, don't sell your car because of me. I mean, my God, I just want you to be able to know that it does damage, so you know to protect yourself, and you can protect yourself.